That is not what I'm going to do.
OK, well, on that note, let's bring in the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. Treasurer, good morning to you. So what's your reaction to
Good morning.
Premier Mark McGowan's plan to postpone that reopening date indefinitely?
Well, this is a decision, an announcement by the Western Australian Government, and it's for them to explain. It's not a federal state issue, but I know that many Western Australians will this morning be very disappointed, and they'll be asking the question, if not now, when will the WA borders open? Because we're in 2 years to this crisis, to this pandemic, and we're in the third phase of it. Initially, we saw the outbreaks across the eastern states, and then we saw the Delta outbreak, and now we're seeing the Omicron variant. But it's different this time. It's highly transmissible, but 75% less severe. And we need to learn to live with the virus. So we'll continue to support the Western Australian community. Western Australians have been wonderful through this pandemic, and it is really encouraging to see their double-dose vaccination rates approach 90% and to see their booster dose numbers increase quite rapidly.
This is going to hurt the country, though. Wouldn't you agree? It's going to hurt tourism. It's going to hurt business.
Well, obviously, we'd like to see borders come down right across the country and to see us united as one. But this is a decision that the Western Australian Government has made, and it is for them to explain. I mean, we are seeing states move very quickly to dismantle some of the restrictions they've had in place. Only weeks ago, Pete, we were discussing the closed borders that Queensland had to the rest of the country. Then they introduced a PCR test. Then they went to a rapid antigen test. Now they don't have any testing requirements before going into the state. And that is just shows you how quickly things are changing. So we recognise that there are lots of cases of COVID around the country, but we can live safely with the virus with a number of restrictions that remain in place, like mask wearing or like social distancing, as well as rolling out the vaccines and the booster shots.
Yeah, doesn't it just highlight, though, that 3 years into the pandemic now, the hospitals in the West just aren't ready?
Well, again, that's for Mark McGowan to explain what precautions he's taken in his state. The Western Australian experience has been quite different to, as you know, what we've experienced here in Victoria or elsewhere. And the Western Australian people should be congratulated for what they have achieved. And the Morrison government continues to provide that strong economic support into Western Australia. More than $14 billion already through this pandemic alone has gone from the Commonwealth into the state, as well as obviously strong support on the health front as well.
Stunning unemployment figures yesterday, Treasurer, as you're well aware, but we've just had the worst January consumer confidence in 30 years. There are, as you know, supply chain logjams. You've got inflationary pressures that are just around the corner. It's not all rosy, is it?
Well, Pete, there are definitely challenges because we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and it is the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression, and Omicron has dented confidence and it has impacted on consumer spending. But the Commonwealth Bank's data shows that consumer spending had only come down by 3% at the start of this year. The National Australia Bank has said that the economic conditions they're witnessing are nowhere near as severe that's been either reported or feared, and that spending has been above pre-pandemic levels. And Westpac's chief economist came out and said that consumer sentiment remains in positive territory. So the underlying fundamentals of the Australian economy are very sound, and yesterday's job numbers were remarkable. To see the unemployment rate come down to 4.2%, the lowest in more than 13 years, to know that since the coalition came to government, 1.7 million more Australians are now in work, including 1 million more Australian women are now in work. Let's not forget, Jim Chalmers, early on in the pandemic, said the single biggest test for the Morrison government's management of the COVID-19 pandemic would be what happens to the unemployment rate. And the unemployment rate today is 4.2% compared to 5.7% when Labor left office.
And yet we still have some 400,000 unfilled jobs, according to the ABS.
Well, there are job vacancies right across the country, and indeed in many sectors. working to train up Australians to take those jobs. We do have 220,000 apprentices who are now in a trade apprentice, and that's the highest since those numbers and statistics began back in 1963. We've tipped over 1 million jobs in manufacturing. Remember, under Labor, 1 in 8 manufacturing jobs were lost. We've got programs like Job Trainer. We've had the wage subsidy for apprentices, and right across the board we're working on skilling up Australians to take those jobs.
In Perth, Innes Willocks makes the point this morning, this is the final one here, Treasurer, $16 it costs now for a pint of beer in Perth because of supply chain issues. How sustainable is that?
Well, that is a pretty expensive pot, I have to tell you. The supply chains are under real pressures, but we have made changes to try to mitigate those pressures. So, for example, the changes around the isolation requirements agreed by National Cabinet are making a real difference. I was recently at a Coles distribution centre in Victoria where they explained how more people are back at work as a result of the changes that have been made. We know that the changes around the working requirements for international students, working holiday makers, will help with the workforce issues. We'll put in place a school plan through National Cabinet so that schools can open at term 1 and stay open, because that will impact on the workforce. We're rolling out the vaccine to 5 to 11-year-olds, and of course we've got the booster shots that are rolling out across the country. All of these are individual initiatives within a broader strategic plan to address the workforce pressures that we're seeing right now.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thanks for your time as always.
Good to be with you, Pete.
The Australian and UK officials will meet in Sydney today for defence and security talks centred on the Indo-Pacific. The Auckland meeting will focus on geopolitical issues pertinent to China's growing influence in the region. The talks will also build on the landmark AUKUS submarine agreement signed in September with Britain and the US. Extra significance will be placed on the meeting due to the attendance of the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. She has been, of course, touted as a potential successor to the under-fire Prime Minister Boris Johnson, should he have to resign or stand aside because of the ongoing Downing Street party scandals. And on that, accusations of blackmail and intimidation have been levelled against Boris Johnson's allies by one of his own MPs. The allegations are a sign of worsening relations between the British Prime Minister and his backbenchers, after several MPs handed in letters of no confidence against him. John Craig was on the program a short time ago and gave us these details.
It's become a dirty tricks row now, with allegations of blackmail and intimidation of those MPs who are minded to vote against Boris Johnson and campaign for him to go. The accusation is being levelled at the what's called the government whips. That's the enforcers, the people who enforce discipline and try to get the government's business through the House of Commons. Now, what has happened here is that an MP called William Wragg, now he is a critic of the Prime Minister, wants him to go. He's also been a big rebel against the Prime Minister's COVID restrictions. He has made 2 accusations, one blackmail, and the second accusation he makes is that the government whips are threatening to withdraw public funding from MPs' constituencies if they won't support the Prime Minister. So 2 allegations. Boris Johnson has hit back, saying, where's the evidence? That prompted the MP who 24 hours earlier had changed parties, defected from the ruling Conservatives to the opposition Labour Party. His name is Christian Wakeford, to say, well, actually, I've got evidence. Now, what he says is that the Prime Minister's aides and supporters, he says, I was threatened. I would not get money for a school in my constituency if I did not vote in one particular way. It's all getting very angry and acrimonious, but we await that report next week. That will be the time when the Prime Minister probably learns his fate, and when, if it's bad for the Prime Minister, more MPs will call for him to go. He's quite likely to face a vote of confidence. Even if he wins it, his days could be numbered, because he could be very badly damaged.
That report next week. What a doozy that'll be. The first flights carrying aid supplies have arrived in Tonga 5 days after that volcanic eruption. and the tsunami that followed. Australia's C-17A Globemaster and New Zealand's C-130 Hercules landed safely yesterday afternoon after workers spent several days clearing a thick layer of volcanic ash from the runway. The aircraft carried vital supplies such as water, telecommunications equipment, electricity generators and temporary shelter kits. Tonga's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister and Australia's High Commissioner in the country were on the tarmac when the flights landed. Queen Elizabeth has meanwhile sent her condolences to the King of Tonga after an underwater volcanic eruption. So far, that has claimed 3 lives. In a message, she said, "My thoughts and prayers are with the people of Tonga as we work together to recover from the damage caused. It must be incredibly difficult for those who are unable to contact friends and family while communications are disrupted, and I hope that they will soon be restored." Basketballer Andrew Bogut has told Sky News that he won't be silenced after the Victorian Electoral Commission threatened him with prosecution for posting social media content critical of the Andrews government. Legal experts say questions should be asked over why the former NBA star was singled out.
After posting critical content on social media about Victoria's pandemic laws.
Lying, cheating, stealing taxpayers' money, destroying Victoria. When it comes to corruption, the Victorian government is all in it together.
Former NBA and Boomers star Andrew Bogut has received a warning from the Victorian Electoral Commissioner.
I had a good laugh about it.
Mr Bogut is facing fines or potential prosecution charges.
They can bring on the fine and we'll see what happens. I'm going to continue to call out corruption.
The warning letter states the VEC has assessed the post and determined that it likely constitutes an electoral advertisement, handbill, pamphlet or notice as defined by Section 3 of the Electoral Act as it contains electoral matter. You are requested to immediately act to prevent any further offending against Section 83 of the Electoral Act, including taking corrective action in relation to electoral advertisements, handbills, pamphlets or notices.
I think it's absolutely astonishing.
If I can't, as an Australian, as a Victorian, criticise a government with whatever means necessary and whatever means I want to do as a free citizen, we're in some big trouble.
The notice warns that Mr Bogut posted electoral material without an authorisation disclosure.
You'd have to ask the question of why poor old Andrew Bogut has been singled out. A paid political advertisement and advertisements that are there from a political party that are for a particular purpose, then okay, they fall in the Electoral Act. The personal comments of an individual citizen don't.
That's exactly right. I'm not a political party. I'm not a politician. I'm not registered to be a politician. I couldn't give 2 hoots about politics.
The Victorian Electoral Commissioner says Andrew Bogut has not been treated differently. Anna Rawlings, Sky News.
Coming up, business groups react as WA delays its border reopening indefinitely.
More real news.
The left has learned a sweet treat.
And honest views.
They lied for one simple reason.
I'm genuinely shocked.
Because it doesn't fit the narrative that's going on.
Get inside the news.
Welcome to Inside the News.
This week, Inside the News with Rita Panahi.
The Russian collusion hoax implodes. What's China doing right now? How are they reacting? I'll bring you all the details and you're not going to miss this.
Inside the News, 8 p.m. weeknights.
HelloFresh's new summer menu is bringing you the goodness of delicious meals shared together. Now with fresh summer recipes, perfect for inside or outside, shared with those that matter the most. Share the goodness this summer with HelloFresh.
Emma, you're amazing.
Oh yes, Emma.
The German-designed Emma mattress. You'll fall in love with it too. No wonder the Emma Comfort earned Choice's top-scoring mattress for 2021. But don't take Choice's word for it, or ours. Find out for yourself with the Emma Mattress 100-night home trial. Emma Mattresses. Just go to emma-sleep.com.au.
Introducing Gillette's best.
Next. Shall we take it from the top? Gillette's best Arista razors ever.
Life, work, home. Every day there are strains in your neck that can really turn you into a stressed out wreck. What if you could combine therapeutic heat with relaxing vibrations and targeted pressure? Introducing the Calming Heat Neck Wrap, the massaging weighted heating neck wrap. Calming Heat Neck Wrap targets pressure points to help ease tension and soothe muscles. The secret, a powerful combination of therapeutic heat with relaxing massaging vibrations and targeted weighted pressure for instant soothing relief.
I love that I can give myself a custom massage wherever I am. It's convenient to use, and with the heat settings and the different massage settings, I can really customize the experience.
3 heat level settings apply the perfect temperature to melt away tension, while the weighted clay beads provide gentle pressure to enhance the massaging vibrations and evenly disperse the soothing heat. Ouch! Texting all day really strains your neck. Let Calming Heat Neck Wrap ease the discomfort with its triple combination of relaxing relief. Made of luxuriously soft fabric that feels like a warm hug. And it's adjustable and non-slip, so it stays in place while you work.
Also, the cord is long enough to where if you're doing something while you have it on, you don't have to worry about restricted movement.
Let relaxing massaging vibrations, targeted weighted beads and therapeutic heat help soothe the tension in your neck. Call Global Shop Direct or go online now and get the Calming Heat Neck Wrap for the low price on your screen. Take your relaxation to the next level with this massaging weighted heating neck wrap with 3 heat settings and 3 massage intensities. The Calming Heat Neck Wrap is comfortable and easy to use, but if you're not completely satisfied, just send it back within 30 days for a full refund of the product price. Don't miss out. Call or go online to order your Calming Heat Neck Wrap today.
Here with First Edition, let's go to ComSec for a look at the markets. Tom Petrovsky with his eyes on all of the numbers. Where's the money heading this morning, Tom?
Well, out the door, Pete. The theme this evening for US markets has been one of giving up some rather substantial early gains. In the case of the S&P 500, for example, at its best levels, was up by 1.5%, and as we speak now, it's down by about 0.33%. So it's turned tail with some energy, and that is something that is front of mind for investors when you look ahead to the next week. In the case of the US, they've got a Fed meeting to consider, so perhaps that is part of the consideration at the moment as we move into the back end of the week. In local terms, we've got a range of inflation numbers locally to look at next week as well. So we've got our own hurdles to navigate. So in the overnight session, what stands out is that our SPY futures have underperformed the US market. They were selling off before the US market started peeling away. So at the moment, we're down by around 0.75%. So the US markets have caught up in that respect. The technology stocks are the ones that are leading the decline. So the Nasdaq's down by around 0.8%. The Dow is down by 0.5%, and the S&P 500 down by 0.33%. The Aussie dollar has held up under the circumstances, but it's given up a good portion of those improvements that we saw after the much better employment figures yesterday. 72.25 US cents.
Sounds like a lot of red there. Tom, thank you. Turning to our top story now. Western Australia's border reopening has been delayed